It's so fun to me watching all these UFC fighters try to become heels and just completely fail. They either get seen as corny and just completely fail at it. They say the dumbest lines ever, but no one actually cares. They don't get hated. They just get seen as, a little cringe, or people actually like them. I know heels kind of want to be liked by a certain majority of the fan base, but so many of the heels in UFC, like Covington, Hokit, Ilya, even Ilya, he trash talks all the time. He's seen as not exactly a heel, though. He's still a fan favorite. Like, none of these guys can really become heels. And yet, somehow, of all the people in the sport, Ian Gary is the one who probably never wanted to be a heel, wanted to be liked by everyone, yet he's probably the most hated guy in the sport right now. And not in like a Josh Hokit way where it's like, oh, I hate this guy. I want to see him lose, but he's doing it on purpose. Not like an Ilya way. He's trash talking, has people hate him because he's trash talking their favorite fighter. No, people genuinely just hate Ian Gary as a human being. They hate him to his core. And I feel bad for Ian Gary at some points, but he's kind of done it to himself every step along the way he's had to become a fan favorite, which is something he wants to do, and he said it many times. He just chooses the wrong dialogue option. It's like when you're playing those multiple choice games, the choose your own story games, and every single time you click the dialogue option, and then it's the complete wrong thing, something you didn't, the bad outcome. I feel like that's Ian Gary's entire persona. I don't know. I feel bad for the guy. But in this video, we're going to be breaking down the career of Ian Gary and how he got to the point that he's at now of becoming the most hated UFC fighter against his will. Because it's completely unintentional. And you know what? I get it. I do get the hate. But before we hop into that, guys, remember to like, remember to subscribe. And if you don't worry. I won't be mad. I'll just be a little bit disappointed. But anyway, no, in all seriousness, guys, I really appreciate all of you guys who have subscribed so far. It means the world to me, and I'm so grateful for you guys. But let's get back to the video, because that's why you clicked on this, to hear about Ian Gary. Don't know why anyone would ever want to hear about Ian Gary, but that's why you clicked on the video. Ian Gary, let's look at the beginning of his career. He came in from Cage Warriors. He was supposed to be the next Conor McGregor. Now, I know there are a lot of guys. Ilia Topuria, the next Conor McGregor. Mauricio Rufy, the next Conor McGregor. So many guys. Ian Gary had a certain special a feel about him. Came into the UFC with a round 1 KO. Beautiful striking, a great striker, very flowy, Irish guy, and even connected himself to Conor McGregor. A lot of guys like Sean O'Malley, Ian Gary, Mauricio Rufy, not Ian Gary, Ilia Topuria, they don't want to connect themselves to Conor McGregor. Ian Gary came right into the UFC and deemed himself the next Conor McGregor. And it started off pretty good. A first round KO, went through a little bit of adversity to get to it, but he got it. And especially after coming off with the Cage Warriors, where Conor McGregor started as well, it was looking good for him. Then he has 2 decisions in a row, but he looks pretty decent in those. No one's hating on him yet. He has a Song Kanan fight, goes through adversity, gets dropped bad, fights back, and for most of the fight, he looks amazing. He gets dropped, though. Then he finishes Song Kanan, but one of the best combos I've seen in my life. Absolute insanity. Then he gets his first UFC main event against Daniel Rodriguez. The same guy who, years and years later, while he's older, coming off of, a prison stint, not training, inactivity, the same guy, Uros Medic, finished him in the first round, and everyone is saying, oh man, Uros Medic is the best contender in the UFC. He's one of the most dangerous guys in the UFC. Ian Gary finished Daniel Rodriguez, first guy to ever do it in the first. When his positive hype peaked, people are like, man, this guy may actually be the next Conor McGregor. Undefeated, knocking guys out, coming off of 2 KO wins in a row. This is when his hype peaked. Then he had the Jeff Neal fight. And in the lead up to that fight, he starts talking about Jeff Neal's mugshots. Jeff Neal had a DUI incident, and he had a couple mugshots circling around. Ian Gary made a t-shirt with Jeff Neal's mugshot on it. I don't know why Ian Gary decided to do that. Maybe the kid decided it was time for his own humiliation ritual. Maybe he thought people would be on his side for this one, but they weren't. But instead of embracing it like Conor McGregor may have, the kid decided to try to play the moral high ground. He was like, Jeff Neal put the people in danger, and it's, I'm actually the good guy in this situation. Like, I don't know, pardon my Ian Gary impression, but he tried to play the moral high ground. It looked very desperate, and I think that's when a lot of people started turning on him. That fight Fell through, though, and he kept trash-talking Jeff Neal after it fell through. But again, it wasn't Conor McGregor type of, I'll see you in the cage, you're scared of me. It was just him. It was like very sad, very wimpy type of trash talk. And that didn't really get people on his side. But lucky for him, he got a fight. Let's see. Yeah, same card against Neil Magny. And in the build-up to that fight, Neil Magny said one of the simplest lines, like a classic line, I feel like. He said, I'm going to beat him like he's my kid, or something like that. It wasn't even that bad. It was saying like, I'm going to whoop him like he's my son. I think that was it. I'm going to whoop him like he's my son. I'm going to son him. Ian Gary then went on a holier-than-thou press tour, implying that Neil Magny was the worst person in the world because since he said he was going to whoop Ian Gary like his son, he assumed that meant Neil Magny was going to brutally whoop his son or something like that. And to be honest, it's Neil Magny. If he's comparing his fight style to how he hits his kid, that's just a clinch against the wall for 15 minutes. No damage done. No harm, no foul. You can't even get mad at that. But in all seriousness, Neil Magny clearly was just joking. But at that time, he was also going through a divorce. And that was played in court, apparently. Ian Gary's comments trying to make it seem like Neil Magny was some sort of monster. It risked him custody of his son. And now, was that a dumb thing for Neil Magny to say during that time? Of course. Was Ian Gary a complete, I can't say the word for it, but trying to bring that up to try to make himself look better, holier than thou? Was he a complete idiot for doing that? Yes. And that's when people really started to turn against him. But don't worry, he did win that fight. Dominantly, too. I think that's the first 30, 24, 10-8s in every single round I've ever seen. But that kind of made it worse because it wasn't a 10-8 because he was rocking Neil Magny to the head. Brutally, Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar style. He was leg kicking Neil Magny. And Neil Magny, who's, shown vulnerability to leg kicks before. But Ian Gary's elite. So he's able to exploit it in a way that people haven't before. He knocked down Neil Magny so many times with leg kicks. Neil Magny was on the ground, couldn't get back up. And Ian Gary was hesitant to engage Neil Magny on the ground. And that really made people angry. He had no finishing instinct, no killer instinct, and then leading up to that fight, all the trash talk he talked, and then putting up the middle finger at Neil Magny in the middle, I don't know what to say about it. It's actually insane to me. I feel like Ian Gary, this might have been when his press finally hit the low, because the Jeff Neal thing, some people were defending him. This fight, he somehow turned a 30-24 into a boring fight. I personally, at the time, I was still enjoying the fight. Because I was like, this is so dominant. But it wasn't objectively. He made it way more boring than it should have been. He should have finished Neil Magny. Especially after that, Neil Magny got finished by Carlos Prates and Michael Morales in the first round. After Ian Gary just took him 3 rounds. Yeah, he dominated him. He couldn't find that finish. Then after that, his teammate, Vicente Luque. That's who he gets matched up against. And of course, in classic Ian Gary fashion, he found a way to make people hate him. Vicente Luque in the build-up got baptized, and Ian Gary said he's going to look like Jesus standing over Vicente Luque in that cage. What was he think? His press already at an all-time low, and again, it's like he's trying to trash talk, but presses the wrong dialogue option every time. That wasn't an aura moment. That didn't make anyone think he was a cool heel. It just made people hate him and see him as obnoxious, and that's exactly what happened. Then to make matters worse, let's look at this. Who pulled out of this fight? That's right, Ian Gary on the Edwards versus Covington card. Everyone was hyped for that press conference, and leading up to that press conference, Colby Covington was saying, Ian Gary's going to pull out because he's scared of me. He's going to pull out because he's scared of me. He doesn't want to be at this press conference with me. Ian Gary pulled out with a common cold. I'm pretty sure he claimed it was pneumonia, but he was completely fine a few days later. Pulled out of that fight right before the press conference. So even though I do believe, it was pneumonia, a horrible look for Ian Gary. That at that time, people thought, all right, as long as he embraces being hated, then he can still be a star. Then he pulls out of the press conference. That would have been his star-making hatred heel performance. But don't worry, he comes back and he fights Jeff Neal in the bout we've all been waiting for. And he goes to a split decision full of clinching. A split decision full of clinching where he says he schools Jeff Neal. I think he did school Jeff Neal. In the striking, if you really look at it, Jeff Neal was the one doing the clinching, but a boring, stinky fight. You can't do that if you're at that part of your career as Ian Gary. Up next, though, he has Michael Venom Page. Super hyped. Just had a styling performance against Kevin Holland. We now know Michael Venom Page is he's a little bit boring. I will give that to you guys. A little bit boring. He's probably one of the most boring strikers in the UFC. But leading up to this fight, that wasn't the narrative here. They're like, all right, this is going to be a banger. MVP is going to school him. Some people are saying Ian Gary's going to show him the UFC level. They went to one of the stinkiest decisions I've ever seen in my life. Insanely boring fight. Ian Gary won by a hair. But even then, he only made it worse. In the post-fight press conference, he said he schooled MVP in a fight that a lot of people thought MVP won. He said he schooled MVP and that he rocked him and had his eyes rolling in the back of his head in the second round. Now, a lot of people have replayed this fight. They can't find a single clean shot Ian Gary landed on MVP in that second round. Barely in the entire fight, especially in that second round, though. And then he wins because MVP is on top of him, took him down, and then MVP stands back up because he thought he had the fight secured. Yeah, Ian Gary was doing decent work from the bottom. And Ian Gary in that post-fight is like, you know what? I knew I could have gotten up at any time. I just wanted to see if I could do damage from the bottom with elbows, submit him from the bottom. He was not doing any damage with his elbows from the bottom. He wasn't throwing up any submissions. He was stuck on the bottom till MVP stood up. That may have been the lowest moment of Ian Gary's career. By this point, I don't think there was a single Ian Gary fan out there. You would be hard-pressed to find a single Ian Gary fan out there. I remember during then, it was hard to find. Even during this point, I kind of wanted Ian Gary to do good. Undefeated Irish guy. Has a lot of people talking about him. For the good of the sport, I wanted Ian Gary to do good. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I don't think anyone liked him at this point. But luckily, he had his redemption tour. He was booked to fight. I know it says after, but before he was booked in the Shavkat fight, he was booked to fight Joaquin Buckley. But then, Bilal Muhammad injured himself and pulled out of the Shavkat Rakhmonov title fight. And Ian Gary stepped in on short notice. His redemption time. Everyone was saying Shavkat was going to finish him. Ian Gary would have some good moments, but Shavkat was going to finish him. Either by knockout or submit. People didn't know which one. Ian Gary put up an amazing performance on short notice against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Took Shavkat's back in that fifth round and nearly subbed him. After this, he finally had a bounce back popularity. People who didn't like him before were coming around to him, saying he's the second best guy in the division, one of the best fighters. So many things. But he had to secure that. And again, he fought Carlos Prates right after that. And schooled Carlos Prates. We see how good Prates is. Schooling everyone. He made the cigarette narrative of Carlos Prates having no cardio be a thing. People were like, oh, maybe Prates was scared of gassing out because he smoked so much. You don't even hear people talking about that nowadays. Ian Gary made that a real possibility. People were terrified that after this fight, Carlos Prates was just no good because that's how good Ian Gary made him look. And again, this was a short notice fill-in as well. Ian Gary didn't have a full camp. He kind of looked like he was on his way to getting finished in that fifth round. But a lot of that is attributed to him just being so gassed out on short notice with such a high volume fight, moving around so much. It was, as much as I like to say Carlos Prates would school him in a rematch, I can't say that confidently. Ian Gary came in on short notice in their first fight. Ian Gary might very well do even better in a rematch. I don't know. But after that fight, a lot of people thought it's a shoo-in. Ian Gary is the second best guy in the division, right behind Shavkat. Bilal had just lost his belt to JDM. A lot of people thought JDM would lose perhaps to Shavkat, all that, but Shavkat was out of the division at that point. So of active fighters, Ian Gary, a lot of people thought he should be next. But Islam Makhachev moved up, put a wrench in those plans. Islam beats JDM, becomes the welterweight champion, and Ian Gary fights Bilal Muhammad and schools him as well. Amazing. I like the fight. Very entertaining fight. Completely schooled Bilal Muhammad. And you would think, at this point, he has a title shot locked in. Just lock in at the gym. Don't talk too much. And if you do, make sure you're not more hated. Maybe he wants to be hated. Who knows? Ian Gary then went on a media tour. I'm not going to say all the things he said. It was a lot of stuff. But he went on a media tour just recently. And he may now have permanently ruined his reputation. I think Ian Gary, I watched the interviews. A lot of the stuff he said isn't that bad. But he has a few moments in those interviews where he genuinely, I don't know how he can come back in the eyes of MMA fans. And he's now an official PETA-sponsored athlete. You know, the people who, super vegan, says, no one should eat meat, no one should own pets, all those sort of things. He's their first UFC athlete sponsored. I don't know what the kid is doing. I don't know. I really don't. I really want to root for him against Islam. A big upset. And I think he has a huge chance of beating Islam Makhachev. But I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if he, even if he does beat Islam Makhachev, that's not hype anymore. Before Ian Gary, the guy who just beat Carlos Prates, went close decision of Shavkat Rakhmonov, beat Bilal Muhammad, his redemption tour. That's a guy I'd be okay with beating Islam Makhachev. Now, we can't have this Ian Gary beating Islam Makhachev. Maybe. I don't know who I'm rooting for yet. It would be interesting to see, but his downfall, I don't think there's any coming back. Maybe he did this on purpose. Maybe he's playing a IQ level 1,000 chess or something like that. Maybe he purposely wanted to, but this isn't even the type of heel that brings in views. This is just like hardcore MMA fans know about you and they hate you, and no one else really knows about you. You're not a heel like Ilya Taporia saying crazy stuff at a press conference. You're not a heel like, I don't even know, Josh Hokett. You're not a heel like Sean Strickland. No, you're a heel that doesn't bring in views and is just hated by the hardcore fans who are going to watch anyway. Ian Gary, his downfall is finished. If he loses to Islam, he may be the most hated fighter in UFC history, and it may just stay that way. But guys, that's all we have for today. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys think Ian Gary's the most hated fighter? I think he is. I can't think of a more hated fighter than Ian Gary right now, but maybe I'm wrong. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.